All right, so this is the daf for May 16th, 2025. Lag BaOmer, we're at daf 15 of Shevuot. So it says, at the end of 14, it says, Rav Shimi Bar Hia said, as the verse states, according to all that I show you, the form of the tabernacle and the form of all its vessels. And so you shall do. So we're in 15 now. Exodus 25:9, the final words, and so shall you do, are superfluous and serve to teach, as was done in the tabernacle, so shall you do in future generations. Rabbah raises an objection from a Braita. With regard to all the sacred vessels that Moshe fashioned, their anointment with oil consecrates them. From that point forward, in the generations after Moses, new vessels do not require anointment to be consecrated. Rather, their use in the temple service initiates them and renders them fit for use. Rabbah clarifies the objection. But why is this so? Let us say here, as well as that phrase, and so shall you do, quote, and so shall you do, teaches the same must be done in future generations. The Gemara answers, it is different there, as the verse states, with regard to the tabernacle and its vessels, quote, and he anointed them and consecrated them, Numbers 7, verse 1. This teaches that it is only them, the vessels fashioned by Moses, that are consecrated through anointment, but vessels fashioned in later generations are not consecrated through anointment. The Gemara asks, why not say them? The vessels made by Moses he consecrated specifically through anointment, but vessels made in future generations are consecrated either through anointment or through their initial service. Rav Papa said, the verse states, and they shall take all the service vessels with which they serve in the sanctuary, Numbers 4:12. The future tense, they will serve, indicates that the verse is referring to future vessels, and the verse makes them dependent upon service, teaching that in future generations, vessels will be consecrated through their initial service. And the Gemara asks, now that the Merciful One has written, quote, with which they shall serve, why do I need the restrictive term them? The Gemara answers, had the Merciful One not written them, I would say that they, the vessels made by Moses, were consecrated through anointment alone, but vessels made in later generations must be consecrated both through anointment and through service, as the Torah wrote, quote, and so shall you do, referring to future generations. Therefore, the Merciful One excluded future vessels from anointment by stating them, teaching that it is only them that were consecrated through anointment, but in later generations they are not consecrated through anointment. The Mishnah teaches, and with two thanksgiving offerings, a Tana taught in a Braita with regard to the two thanks offerings that are mentioned here. The reference is to their loaves, but not to their flesh. An animal thanks offering is accompanied by 40 loaves of bread that are brought as a meal offering. 10 loaves are leavened. The remainder is comprised of 10, each with 3 types of unleavened bread. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? Rav Chisda said, as the verse states, with regard to the consecration of the wall of Jerusalem in days of Ezra, quote, and I placed 2 large thanks offerings, and we went in procession to the right upon the wall. Nehemiah 12:31. Okay, the Gemara clarifies the meaning of this verse. What is meant by large? If we say that the animals of the thanks offerings were literally from a large species, that is oxen, rather than from a small species, such as sheep, let the verse state that they were oxen. Rather, let us say that he took animals from among the largest and the finest quality of their species. The Gemara challenges this. Is the size of the offering an importance before heaven? But isn't it taught in the Mishnah, Menachot 110a, it is stated with regard to an animal burnt offering, a fire offering, a pleasing aroma, Leviticus 1:9. It is also stated with regard to a burnt offering, quote, a fire offering, a pleasing aroma, Leviticus 1:17. It is also stated with regard to a meal offering, quote, a meal offering, a pleasing aroma, Leviticus 2:2. The same term is used in all 3 cases, even though the 3 offerings are different value. This teaches that one who brings a substantial sacrifice and one who brings a modest sacrifice have equal merit, and both offerings are accepted as having a pleasing aroma, provided that one directs his heart to his Father in heaven. Rather, let us say that large thanks offerings means the larger element in the thanks offering loaves. And what is that? The leavened loaves, as we learned in a Mishnah, Menachot 76b, the meal part of the thanks offering came from 5 Jerusalem seah of flour, which are equivalent to 6 wilderness seah. The seah, referred to in the Bible when the Jewish people were in the wilderness, is smaller than the seah used later in Jerusalem. This is equivalent to 2 ephahs, each ephah being 3 wilderness seahs. These 2 ephahs are 20 measures of a tenth of an ephah. 10 of these tenths were used to make leavened loaves, and 10 of these tenths were used to make unleavened loaves. And the unleavened loaves were of 3 types: loaves of matzah, wafers, and measures of flour mixed with water and oil. Accordingly, the leavened loaves of flour mixed with accordingly, the leavened loaves were 3 times the size of the unleavened ones, and it was the leavened loaves that were used to consecrate additions to the city. Rami Bar Hama says, one can infer from this Braita that the temple courtyard is consecrated only with the remainder of the meal offering and not by the loaves of a thanks offering. The remainder of the meal offering is part left over after a handful of it and its frankincense have been sacrificed on the altar. This remainder is eaten by a priest. What is the reason for this? The consecration of the temple courtyard is like the consecration of Jerusalem. Just as with regard to Jerusalem, an item that is eaten specifically in it, that is the loaves of a thanks offering, which are eaten anywhere in the city, consecrates the city, so too with regard to the temple courtyard, an item that is eaten specifically in it, the remainder of the meal offering, consecrates the courtyard. The Gemara asks, boy, that fire's hot.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to challenge you this round.
Uh-oh.
See what you can do. We're going to give the group, I think they said...
Back up. Okay. The Gemara asks, is that to say the loaves of a thanks offering are not eaten in the temple courtyard? Rather, the comparison should be as follows. The consecration of the temple courtyard is like the consecration of Jerusalem. Just as Jerusalem is consecrated with the loaves of a thanks offering, which is an item that is eaten inside the city, in which, if it emerges from there, is disqualified, so too the temple courtyard is consecrated with an item that is eaten inside the courtyard, in which it emerges from there, is disqualified. This item is a remainder of a meal offering which can be eaten only by a priest and only in the temple courtyard. The Gemara asks, is the consecration of the temple courtyard, if the consecration of the temple courtyard is derived from the consecration of Jerusalem, let us say as follows. Just as there, with regard to consecration of an addition made to Jerusalem, the loaves used in the ceremony are leavened, so too here, with regard to the consecration of addition made to the temple courtyard, the remainder of the meal offering should be leavened. The Gemara expresses surprise at this suggestion. And how can you understand this? Is there a leavened meal offering? A meal offering is always unleavened. And if you would say that one leavens the remainder of the meal offering, which the priest partake of, and he consecrates the temple courtyard with it, that too is difficult, as it isn't written, quote, it shall not be baked leaven for their portion, I've given it to them, Leviticus 6:10. So it is written that way. Isn't it written? So it is written that way. So Leviticus 6:10. And Reish Lakish says, an explanation of this verse, even the priest's portion shall not be baked leavened, as it is prohibited to bake even a portion of the meal offering leavened. The Gemara asks, still why not consecrate the temple courtyard with a leavened meal offering? It is possible to consecrate it with 2 loaves of bread that are brought as a communal offering on the festival of Shevuot, which is a meal offering that is leavened. The Gemara answers because actually it is not possible to do so. The Gemara explains why not. How could we do it? If we build an addition to the temple courtyard on the eve of Shevuot and consecrate it on the eve of the festival, there's a difficulty, as the 2 loaves become consecrated as a meal offering with the slaughter of the 2 lambs that are sacrificed together with them as peace offerings, and this occurs on the festival itself, not on the eve of the festival. If we build the addition to the temple courtyard on the eve of the Shevuot festival, but consecrate it only now on the festival, this too is difficult, as we require consecration at the time of the completion of the building. If we build it on the festival and consecrate it on the festival, this also cannot be, as the building of the temple does not override the festival. If we leave the 2 loaves until after the festival and build the addition to the temple courtyard on the day after the festival and consecrate it by eating 2 loaves on that day, this is difficult as well, as the 2 loaves were already disqualified by virtue of being left overnight after the festival. If we build the addition to the temple courtyard on the eve of the festival and leave a little unbuilt after the festival, and as soon as the day is over and the festival is finished, we immediately finish building the addition and consecrate it with 2 loaves before they become disqualified, this too is impossible, as the building of the temple cannot take place at night. This is, as Abaye says, from where it is derived that the building of the temple cannot take place at night, it is stated, quote, on the day that the tabernacle was erected, Numbers 9:15, from which it can be derived, one may erect it during the day, but not erect it at night. And therefore it is impossible to consecrate the temple courtyard with 2 loaves. It must be done with the remainder of an unleavened meal offering. The Mishnah teaches concerning the consecration of addition to the city of Jerusalem or the temple courtyard, and with a song. The sages taught in a Braita. They sang the song of thanksgiving. Psalms, chapter 100, which begins, a psalm of thanksgiving accompanied by harps, lyres, and cymbals at every corner and every large stone in Jerusalem. And they also recited Psalms 30, which begins, I will extol you, O Lord, for you have lifted me up, the song of evil spirits. That is Psalm 91, which begins, he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High. And some say that this psalm is called the Song of Plagues. The reason of the one who says that it is called a Song of Plagues is that it is written, quote, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. Psalms 91, verse 10. And the reason of the one who says that it is called the Song of Evil Spirits is that it is written, 1,000 shall fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Psalm 91, verse 7. And they recited the psalm from the verse, he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91, verse 1. Until they completed the verse, quote, because of you, O Lord, are my refuge. You have made the Most High your dwelling, your habitation. Psalm 91, verse 9. And they would then recite Psalms chapter 3, which begins, a psalm of David, when he fled from Absalom, his son. Lord, how many are my enemies become? Until they reach the verse, quote, salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing be upon your people, Salah. Psalm 3, verse 9, which is the end of that psalm. It is related that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi would recite these verses to protect him from evil spirits during the night and fall asleep while saying them. The Gemara asks, how could he do that? But doesn't Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi himself say, one is prohibited from healing himself with words of Torah? The Gemara answers, to protect oneself is different, as he recited these verses only to protect himself from evil spirits and not to heal himself. The Gemara challenges, but rather when Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said that it is prohibited, he was referring to a situation where there is already a wound and one recites these verses in order to heal himself. But if there is already a wound and he recites these verses over it, is only this prohibited and nothing more? But didn't we learn in Mishnah, Sanhedrin 90a, that one who whispers an incantation over a wound has no share in the world to come? The Gemara answers, wasn't it stated with regard to the Mishnah that Rabbi Yochanan said, the Mishnah was taught with regard to one who spits into the wound and then whispers these verses. And the reason for the severity of this action is that the name of heaven must not be mentioned in connection with spitting, as doing so is a show of contempt to God. The Mishnah teaches that as part of the consecration ceremony, the court would move forward, and 2 thanks offerings would be brought after them, and all the Jewish people would follow behind them. The Gemara asks, is this to say that the members of the court walk in front of the thanks offering? But isn't it written in the verse from which the ceremony is derived, and I placed 2 large thank offerings, and we went in procession to right upon the wall, to the right upon the wall, toward the dung gate, and after them went Hoshea and half of the princes of Judah, Nehemiah 12, 31, and 32. The Gemara answers, this is what the Mishnah is saying. The court moves forward, and how is this done? The 2 thanks offerings move forward, and the court follows after them. The Gemara clarifies this point. How exactly did the 2 thanks offerings move forward? Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Shimon, son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, disagree about this. One sage says one thanks offering alongside the other, and one sage says one behind the other. According to the one who says that the 2 offerings moved one alongside the other, the thanks offering that the Mishnah refers to as the inner one is that which is closest to the wall. According to the one who says that the 2 offerings moved one behind the other, the thanks offering is called the inner one, and that which is closest to the member of the court advancing behind the thanks offerings. The Gemara analyzes these 2 opinions. We learned in the Mishnah, when they would reach the end of the place that they desired to consecrate, the inner thanks offerings would be eaten and the outer one would be burned. Granted, according to the one who says that the 2 thanks offerings move forward, one behind the other, and that the inner one is the one that was in the rear, it is due to this that the inner one is eaten, because the outer one came before it and consecrated the additional area, so that it is now a sanctified place fit for eating the thanks offering loaves. But according to one who says the 2 thanks offerings moved forward one alongside the other, the 2 of them together consecrated the additional area. Why then is the inner one eaten and the outer one burned? The Gemara asks, and according to your reasoning, according to the one who says the 2 offerings move forward one behind the other, does one offering by itself consecrate the area? Didn't we learn in the Mishnah that with regard to any addition that was not made with these ceremonial procedures, the addition is not consecrated? And even according to the one who says, see 16a, that the correct reading of the Mishnah is, with regard to any addition that was not made with any one of all these ceremonial procedures, the addition is not consecrated. Nevertheless, these 2 thanks offerings are one mitzvah, and one without the other would not consecrate the area. Rather, Rabbi Yochanan said, and that leaves us at the beginning of Daf 16.